Hey guys, welcome to my 200th episode. I am genuinely surprised I've made it this far without really messing up yet, so thankfully that hasn't happened. Um, but I don't really have anything super special planned or anything. I probably should be a better video channel host and have planned something for my 200th episode since that's a pretty big benchmark. 100, 200, and 300 are all pretty significant. Um, but I don't. I just plan to kind of recapping on what's going on in my life, what I did today, what I'm planning to do in upcoming days and weeks, and just call it a recap episode, hoping that people kind of use this in the future if suddenly I become famous, then come back to this and get a good recap for what's been going on. So, for many of you that have been following along, which is zero people, because I know for a fact no one's been following along, this will be all a very big review, but nevertheless, pretty much the main things that have happened on this channel since I've started were that I graduated from college with my degree in civil engineering, my bachelor's of science. I graduated with summa cum laude distinction, which is kind of like your highest level of distinction from a school aside from having a perfect 4.0. I graduated from the honors college. I locked down a job with a civil engineering firm that I've been interning at the past 2 summers. And I haven't quite started that job yet, but I got a call from them and talked to them a bit on the phone where we established that my start date would 90% most likely be August 10th. So I'm looking forward to starting that. That job is something that I'm very familiar and comfortable with because of my past two internships and also due to the COVID-19 virus. I'll be working there 1 week on, 1 week off, meaning I go in for a week and then the following week I'll be working from home. And then other than that, I also passed my Fundamentals of Engineering exam, which is an exam that majority civil engineers take so that they become an engineer in training and are on the path to become a professional engineer and get their license so they can sign and seal plans. I also have started taking master's classes and will be taking master classes starting in the fall part-time, just doing 2 classes, maybe even 1 class a semester while I'm working full-time. Most of them are online, so they shouldn't be super difficult. Can kind of work on them at my leisure, so to speak. And besides those things, I've more or less caught up. I also, in my personal life, health-wise has been good. I can't remember if I was sick. Yeah, I think I was. No, I was not sick while we've started this show, thankfully, and I'm very grateful for that. My health's been good. My medications have been working. Haven't needed surgery or anything like that. I'm questioning that. I'm like, yeah, there's no way I was recording this during my stay in the hospital. That was over a year ago. Also, I have started seeing a girl, which so far things have been looking very, very good with that. I'm going on a date with her tomorrow. I'll maybe eventually do a longer video on her if things continue to go well, but for now, she is a cute girl I met on Tinder that I plan on going on many more dates with. Other than that, other things in my life going on, I mean, I got a new fancy computer. That was kind of a big deal for me because I haven't really played video games since high school, and even then I wasn't a gamer. I had a very, very, very basic PC. I've had like a Wii and an Xbox in the past before, but I never played more than 1 or 2 games really. So getting a gaming PC where I was able to download a bunch of games and start trying different things out was been very cool. Super cheap, so I haven't actually bought any games, but there's been a lot of free games I was able to get my hands on, like Grand Theft Auto 5, and I did pay for Madden, but that was $20 since it's the old version, and they're just trying to get rid of it and get whatever money they can. And yeah, I guess I'm kind of like looking around my room as if that's going to speak to me as to other things I could talk about, but really things have just been, this has been a very mild year for me aside from what's going on in the rest of the world. I'm abundantly fortunate to be in a place where my health is in very, very good condition. The people closest to me are healthy and doing well. I am very, very privileged to be of a, I guess I'll call it complexion, even though that's not the best way to say it, to yeah, I think you guys get what I'm trying to say. That I'm very, very privileged and grateful for being who I am, and am trying to actively be more involved with doing things to help those that need help more right now, whether that be due to the pandemic and the virus that has disproportionately impacted different communities and different peoples, or trying to be an advocate for the people that are under the most strife right now. I have said before, I don't really want to make this a channel where I talk in depth about my political opinions or my outlooks on the world and my worldviews and beliefs and values and things like that. It's supposed to be a more mild show, but it definitely is something that should be brought up, and I do hope that whatever your opinion on things are, I believe very strongly that there is a right opinion, but I'm not going to get into that. Just do your research, really do your research, and come to your own conclusions, and come to conclusions that are scientifically sound and make sense. Also, regardless of that, try and think of what the decent thing to do is as a human being. There's a big difference between doing something because science says it's undoubtedly proven to be helpful and doing something because it's just the right thing to do, and the downside for you doing it is so minimal. I've talked about this in a similar way in past episodes, where if there's a company I don't support their values for, example I gave was Chick-fil-A, I don't support the fact that they have been a major player in causing a lot of inequality among different sexualities of people. So if I had Chick-fil-A near me, which I don't, I would do my best to not support them. I just don't think that the benefit of a superior fried piece of chicken is worth funding a company that has such mischievous intentions, I guess I'll say. And I guess the same goes the other way. For example, Ben & Jerry's has always been known as a company that seems to have at least what I consider a good moral outlook based on my own values. So when the opportunity arises, if I'm going to buy a tub of ice cream at the supermarket, chances are I'll lean towards Ben & Jerry's. The purpose of why I'm bringing this up is just that I guess I'll say it more bluntly rather than tiptoe around it. When it comes to something like a mask, in my opinion, regardless of what the science says, even though the science seems to, I believe, very clearly prove that masks are helpful, and logically, even without science proving it, should make sense logically that masks are helpful. But even if you throw all that out, if you are genuinely of the belief there's no way in hell that these masks are helpful and they do absolutely nothing for anyone, they also don't hurt anyone. I know that there's some arguments about whether they deprive you of oxygen or anything like that. First of all, medically, scientifically, that's false. But when you think about things logically, the downside of wearing a mask versus the upside of wearing a mask, if there's something going on or if they're helpful, is monumental. There's just a huge gap. If we're putting it into like percentage points or something like that, the negative impact wearing a mask has on you as a human being might be, let's call it 1%. You lose 1 percentage point, or be dramatic, let's say you lose 10 percentage points. If the mask does absolutely nothing, doesn't help anyone, that means that it's a zero. It's a zero improvement factor. That means overall your net loss is 1 to 10%, depending on how dramatically you want to see the negatives of wearing a mask. On the other hand, if the masks are doing what everyone believes they're doing, if they're preventing the spread of a virus that's highly contagious and has the potential to kill many people, and even if it doesn't kill them, leads people being put on a ventilator for weeks at a time or cause lifelong impairments that we may not even scientifically have the full knowledge of yet, but are slowly learning little by little the long-term effects it has on the human body. If the masks are even preventing, let's say to prevent 10% of those cases even, like there's 10% less people in the world that are going to get the virus because they're wearing masks, or because someone else was wearing a mask and didn't spread it to them, something like that. If that's what's happening, the potential for improvement on life value as a percentage point, I'm pulling these numbers all out of my head based on absolutely no facts or figures, I would say that improvement's 50%? 50% improvement on general life quality for wearing a mask if it's actually a preventative thing. While the downside we said at worst is 10%, that means you have a 40% improvement. You either have a 40% improvement because the masks are working, or a 10% loss if the masks do absolutely nothing and they just make you hot, or even if, let's say, they do prevent you from gaining the maximum amount of oxygen they're used to, even though millions and millions of doctors and nurses and miners and all kinds of people wear masks every single day of their life for hours and hours on end, while you are more likely than not wearing it for less than half an hour at a time, just seems very minuscule to me. So that's my preach, that's my soapbox. Do with it what you will. Go research your own thing. Don't listen to some random guy on YouTube pulling random numbers out of his head. Go do your own research and figure it out yourself. But it's something I do feel strongly about, is don't try and use this as a platform to do that. But I did anyway, so I think this is now the time I should cut off the video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode.